The lake shimmered like a sheet of glass under the Tennessee dawn. But my heart was a storm. I stood on the dock, fishing rod in hand, pretending I knew what I was doing while Harper, my best friend since we were kids, laughed beside me. Her laughter bright, unguarded, cut through the morning mist and straight into me, like it always did. We'd been coming to this lake every summer since we were 12. Back when we'd race to the water with cheap rods and dreams of catching something bigger than our fears. Now, at 25, Harper was still the same, fearless, golden-haired, with a smile that could make anyone believe in second chances. Me. I was still Riley, quiet and awkward, carrying a secret that weighed heavier than the tackle box at my feet. I'd been in love with Harper for years, but she was straighter, so I thought. Riley, you're holding that rod like it's a grenade, Harper teased, her blue eyes sparkling as she leaned closer to adjust my grip. Her fingers brushed mine, warm and steady, and I froze, my breath catching. She didn't notice. She never did. This was our tradition, fishing at her family's cabin, just the two of us, away from the noise of our lives in Nashville. Harper was a graphic designer, always chasing deadlines, while I worked as a librarian, surrounded by books but never quite finding the words for her. The cabin was our escape, a place where time slowed, and for a few days, it was just us, no expectations, no judgment. Except for the one I carried, the truth I could never tell her. That morning, something felt different. Harper was quieter than usual, her usual chatter replaced by long glances at the water. "You okay?" I asked, casting my line clumsily into the lake. She shrugged, her lips twitching into a half-smile. "Just thinking. You ever feel like you're hiding something from yourself?" Her words hit me like a punch. I swallowed, my pulse racing. "Yeah," I said, voice barely above a whisper. "All the time." She turned to me, her expression unreadable. And for a moment, the world was just us two women on a dock, the air thick with unspoken truths. I didn't know then that this trip would change everything. That by the end of it, Harper would do something I never expected. Something that would unravel the careful walls I'd built around my heart. The sun climbed higher, burning off the mist, and we settled into our rhythm. Harper baited her hook with the ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times, while I fumbled, my hands betraying my nerves. She didn't tease me this time, just watched with a quiet intensity that made my skin prickle. "Remember when we were kids, and you swore you'd catch a fish bigger than me?" she said, breaking the silence. I laughed, grateful for the distraction. "Yeah, and you pushed me in the lake for bragging." "You deserved it." She grinned, but it faded quickly. We were so free back then. No complications. I wanted to ask what she meant, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I focused on the water, the way it rippled under the weight of her gaze. Harper had always been the bold one, the one who spoke her mind without fear. If she was holding back now, it meant something big was brewing. By noon, we'd caught nothing but a few tangled lines and a shared bag of chips. The heat was relentless, and Harper suggested we take a break under the old oak by the cabin. We sprawled out on a blanket, the shade a small mercy, and she handed me a cold soda from the cooler. Our fingers brushed again, and this time, she didn't pull away. "Riley," she said, her voice softer now, "do you ever think about, like, what we could be?" My heart stopped. I stared at her, searching for a joke, a misunderstanding, anything to explain the weight in her words. But her eyes were serious, almost pleading. "What do you mean?" I managed. my voice shaking. She looked away, picking at the grass. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot lately. About you. About how you're always there. How you make everything better. She paused, her breath uneven. I don't know what that means yet, but it scares me. I couldn't breathe. Harper, my straight best friend, was saying things I'd only dreamed of hearing. But fear flickered in her eyes, and I knew this wasn't just about me, it was about her, too. Grappling with something she couldn't name. I'm here, I said, the words feeling inadequate. Whatever you're feeling, we can figure it out. She nodded, but the tension between us lingered, heavy as the summer air. We didn't fish anymore that afternoon. Instead, we sat in silence, the lake stretching out before us like a mirror reflecting all the things we weren't ready to say. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Harper stood, brushing off her jeans. Let's head inside. I'm starving. Her tone was lighter, but her eyes still held that unspoken question. I followed her to the cabin, my mind racing. I'd spent years hiding my feelings, convinced she'd never see me as more than a friend. But now, with one conversation, she'd cracked open a door I'd thought was locked forever. What scared me most wasn't her words, it was the hope they ignited. Fragile and dangerous, threatening to burn me alive if I let it grow. Inside, we cooked dinner spaghetti with store-bought sauce, the kind we'd lived on as broke college students. Harper hummed as she stirred the pot, and for a moment, felt like old times. But every glance, every accidental touch, carried a new weight. I caught her watching me as I set the table, her expression soft and searching, and I wondered if she could hear my heart pounding. After dinner, we sat on the porch, the night alive with crickets and the distant call of an owl. Harper leaned back in her chair, her bare feet propped on the railing. Riley, she said, her voice barely audible. What if I'm wrong about who I am? The question hung between us, raw and unguarded. I wanted to reach for her, to tell her everything, how I'd loved her since we were 16, how every moment with her was both joy and agony. But I didn't. Instead, I said, then you figure it out. And I'll be here, no matter what. She smiled, small, shaky thing, and reached for my hand. Her touch was electric, and I let myself hold on, just for a moment, before she pulled away. That night, as I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, I knew something had shifted. Harper was questioning herself, and I was caught in the crossfire of her uncertainty. Whatever happened next, I wasn't sure I was ready for it, but I knew I couldn't walk away. The next morning, the cabin smelled of coffee and possibility. Harper was already up, flipping pancakes in the tiny kitchen, her hair a messy bun that glowed in the sunlight streaming through the window. I watched her from the doorway, my heart caught between hope and dread. Yesterday's conversation lingered like a half-remembered dream, and I wasn't sure if I should bring it up or let it fade. Morning, sleepyhead, she called, tossing a pancake onto a plate with a flourish. You're on dish duty if you want to eat. I grinned, trying to keep things light. Only if you stop burning half the stack. She stuck out her tongue, and for a moment, we were just Riley and Harper, best friends bantering over breakfast. But as we sat at the wobbly kitchen table, her knee brushed mine under it, and the air shifted. She didn't move away. We decided to hike to the ridge overlooking the lake, a trail we'd conquered a dozen times as kids. The path was steep, lined with wildflowers and the hum of cicadas. Harper led the way, her strides confident, but I noticed her glancing back at me more than usual. Each look felt like a question, one I wasn't sure how to answer. At the top, we sat on a flat rock, the lake sprawling below us like a painting. Harper pulled out a water bottle and passed it to me, her fingers lingering on mine. "You ever think about leaving Nashville?" she asked, her voice casual but her eyes intent. "Sometimes," I said, taking a sip. "But I like my life there. The library, our friends, you." Her cheeks flushed, and she looked away, fiddling with a blade of grass. "I've been thinking about moving. Maybe Chicago or Seattle. Somewhere new." My stomach dropped. "You'd leave?" She shrugged, but it wasn't casual. "I don't know. I just feel stuck. Like I'm supposed to be someone I'm not." I wanted to ask if this was about yesterday, about us, but fear held me back. Instead, I said, "You'd hate Chicago. Too cold. Seattle might work, though. Lots of coffee shops for you to sketch in." She laughed, but it was hollow. "You'd visit, right?" "Always," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The thought of her leaving twisted something inside me, but I couldn't tell her that. Not yet. We stayed on the ridge for hours, talking about everything and nothing, our favorite books, her latest design project, the time we got lost in the woods and swore we'd seen a bear. But the undercurrent of her words from yesterday ran through every moment, unspoken but undeniable. Back at the cabin, we spent the afternoon fishing again, though neither of us cared about catching anything. The dock became our sanctuary, a place where the world couldn't touch us. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Harper turned to me, her expression serious. "Riley, can I ask you something?" My heart raced. "Anything." "Have you ever been in love with someone you shouldn't?" The question was a blade, sharp and precise. I swallowed, my mouth dry. "Yeah," I said, barely audible. "It's complicated." She nodded, like she understood, but didn't press. Instead, she reached for my hand, her grip firm this time. "I'm glad you're here," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I'd do without you." I wanted to tell her then, to spill every secret I'd kept for years. But the fear of losing her, of ruining what we had, kept me silent. Instead, I squeezed her hand, hoping it said what I couldn't. That night, we watched a movie on the cabin's ancient TV, curled up on the couch under a quilt. Harper's head rested on my shoulder, her warmth a quiet torture. When the credits rolled, she didn't move, and neither did I. The silence was heavy, filled with all the things we weren't saying. "Riley," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I think I'm scared of what I'm feeling." I turned to her, our faces inches apart. Her eyes were wide, searching, and for the first time, I saw something new in them, desire. Maybe, or something close to it. My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. "You don't have to figure it all out tonight," I said. "Just let it be." She nodded, her breath warm against my cheek. Then, slowly, she leaned back, breaking the moment. But as we said goodnight and retreated to our separate rooms, I felt the weight of her words settling over me. Harper was questioning everything, her identity, her future. And I was caught in the middle, torn between hope and the fear of what came next. The third day dawned gray, clouds rolling in over the lake like a warning. Harper was quieter than ever, her usual energy muted as we sat on the porch with our coffee. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but the weight of her question from last night about love, about fear, hung between us, unspoken. "Let's go into town," she said suddenly, setting her mug down. I need a break from all this. Quiet. We drove to the small town nearby. A cluster of shops and diners that hadn't changed since we were kids. Harper seemed lighter there, dragging me into a bookstore and laughing as she flipped through old romance novels. But her laughter felt forced, like she was trying to outrun something. At a cafe, we shared a plate of fries, and she finally opened up. I talked to my mom last night, she said, staring at her coffee. She asked if I was dating anyone. My heart sank. What did you say? Nothing. She sighed, pushing a fry around the plate. I don't know what's wrong with me, Riley. I've dated guys, but it's never right. I thought it was them, but maybe it's me. I wanted to reach for her, to tell her it was okay to question, to feel lost. But all I said was, you'll figure it out. You always do. She looked at me then, her eyes sharp. What if I don't want to figure it out alone? The words hit like a wave, pulling me under. I didn't know how to respond, so I changed the subject, pointing out a dog outside the window. She let it go, but the tension followed us back to the cabin. That afternoon, we tried fishing again, but a storm rolled in, forcing us inside. The rain pounded the roof, and we sat by the fireplace, the crackle of the flames filling the silence. Harper pulled out a deck of cards, and we played gin rummy, but her heart wasn't in it. Riley, she said, tossing her cards down. I need to tell you something. My pulse spiked. Okay. She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. I've been thinking about you. A lot. Not just as my friend, but more. And it's freaking me out because I've never felt this way about a woman before. The room spun. I stared at her, my mind racing to catch up. Harper, you don't have to. I know. She interrupted, her voice fierce. But I want to. I need to say it. I think I might be falling for you. Time stopped. The fire, the rain, the world outside Deet all faded. All I could see was Harper, her face flushed, her eyes wide with fear and hope. I wanted to say I loved her, that I'd loved her for years, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I reached for her hand, my thumb brushing over her knuckles. I'm scared too, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. But I'm here. She leaned closer, her breath warm against my skin. For a moment, I thought she might kiss me, but she pulled back, her expression torn. I need time, she said. I don't know what this means yet. I nodded, my heart aching but full. Take all the time you need. That night, the storm raged on, and we slept in the same room, her on the couch, me on the floor. The distance between us felt both infinite and non-existent, a paradox I didn't know how to navigate. But as I listened to her breathing, steady and soft, I knew one thing: Harper was worth waiting for, no matter how long it took. The storm cleared by morning, leaving the lake glassy and the air crisp. Harper was already outside when I woke, sitting on the dock with her knees pulled to her chest. I joined her, the silence between us heavy but not uncomfortable. Her confession last night had changed everything, and I could feel the weight of it in every glance. I've been thinking, she said, not looking at me. About what I said. About you. I held my breath, waiting. I don't know if I'm gay or bi or whatever, she continued, her voice low. But I know I feel something for you. Something real. My heart soared, but fear kept me grounded. Harper, you don't have to label it. Just Feel what you feel. She turned to me, her eyes searching. What if I mess this up? What if I hurt you? You won't, I said, though I wasn't sure. We'll figure it out together. She nodded, but doubt lingered in her expression. We spent the day trying to reclaim our normalcy, fishing, laughing, sharing stories, but every moment was charged with something new. When our hands brushed, it wasn't accidental anymore. When she smiled, it felt like a promise. That evening, we built a fire by the lake, the flames casting shadows on her face. She was quieter than usual, lost in thought. I wanted to ask what she was feeling, but I gave her space, knowing she needed it. As the fire died down, she turned to me, her eyes bright with something I couldn't name. Riley, she said, her voice trembling. Can I try something? Before I could respond, she leaned in and kissed me. It was soft, hesitant, but it set my world on fire. Her lips were warm, tasting faintly of marshmallows, and for a moment, nothing else existed. When she pulled back, her eyes were wide, her breath uneven. I'm sorry, she whispered. I needed to know. Don't be sorry, I said, my voice shaking. I've wanted that for so long. Her smile was small, fragile, but real. Me too, she admitted. I just didn't know it until now. We sat there, the fire crackling, the night wrapping around us like a blanket. For the first time, I let myself believe this could be real, that Harper, my straight best friend, might love me back. But as we walked back to the cabin, her hand in mine, I couldn't shake the fear that this was too fragile, too new, to last. The kiss changed everything. The next morning, Harper was shy, almost nervous, but her smile was brighter than the sun reflecting off the lake. We didn't talk about it, not directly, but it was there in every touch, every glance. I felt like I was walking on air, but part of me braced for the fall. We spent the day exploring the woods, following a trail we hadn't taken since we were teens. Harper held my hand, her grip firm, like she was afraid I'd slip away. I've never done this before, she said, her voice soft. Been with a woman, I mean. I know, I said, squeezing her hand. We'll go slow. Whatever you need. She nodded, but I could see the conflict in her eyes. Harper was fearless in so many ways, but this was uncharted territory. I wanted to protect her, to make this easy, but I was scared too. What if she changed her mind? What if this was just a phase? That night, we cooked dinner together, bumping into each other in the tiny kitchen, laughing like we were kids again. But when we sat down to eat, she grew quiet, her fork tracing patterns in her food. Riley, she said finally, what happens when we go back to Nashville? The question hit like a cold wind. What do you want to happen? I asked, my voice steady despite the panic rising in my chest. I don't know, she admitted. I want thesis, but I'm scared. My family, my friends, they all think I'm straight. What if they don't get it? I reached for her hand, my heart aching. They don't have to get it right away. We'll figure it out, one step at a time. She nodded, but the doubt in her eyes lingered. That night, we slept in the same bed. Her body curled against mine, her breath warm against my neck. It was everything I'd ever wanted, but the fear of losing her kept me awake long after she'd fallen asleep. Our last full day at the cabin was bittersweet. The lake sparkled under a clear sky, but the weight of our return to reality hung over us. Harper was quieter, her smiles less frequent, and I knew she was wrestling with what came next. We spent the morning fishing, but neither of us cared about the catch. Instead, we talked about our fears, our hopes, our past. I told her about the moment I realized I loved her, back when we were 16, watching fireworks on this very lake. She listened, her eyes soft, and admitted she'd felt something too, even then, but didn't know what it meant. "I'm scared I'll mess this up," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't want to hurt you, Riley." "You won't," I said, though I wasn't sure. "Just be honest with me. That's all I need." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and pulled me into a hug. It was fierce, desperate, like she was holding on to something she wasn't sure she could keep. That afternoon, we took the canoe out, the water calm and cool beneath us. Harper paddled, her movements steady, and I watched her, memorizing every detail, the way her hair caught the light, the curve of her smile. I wanted to freeze this moment, to keep her here, where nothing could touch us. As we drifted, she reached for my hand. "I want to try," she said, her voice firm. "With you. With us. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I want you." My heart soared, but fear lingered. "I want that too," I said. "But only if you're sure." "I'm not sure of anything," she admitted, laughing softly. "Except you." We kissed again, out there on the water, the world fading away. It was perfect, fragile, and terrifying. I knew we'd face challenges, her family, our friends, her own doubts, but in that moment, I believed we could handle it. Together. The drive back to Nashville was quiet, the weight of the real world settling over us. Harper held my hand, her thumb tracing circles on my skin, but her eyes were distant. I wanted to ask what she was thinking, but I gave her space, trusting she'd tell me when she was ready. Back in the city, life tried to pull us apart. Harper's work swallowed her, and I buried myself in the library. But we stole moments together, coffee dates, late-night texts, a stolen kiss in her car. Each one felt like a victory, a step towards something real. But the challenges came, as I knew they would. Harper told her parents about us, and their confusion hurt her more than she admitted. Our friends were supportive, but some didn't understand, their questions cutting deeper than they realized. Harper struggled, her confidence shaken, and I felt her slipping away. One night, she showed up at my apartment, eyes red from crying. "I don't know if I can do this," she said, her voice breaking. "I love you, Riley, but it's so hard." I pulled her close, my own tears falling. "I know," I said, "but love is worth it. You're worth it." We talked for hours, laying bare our fears and hopes. Harper admitted she was still figuring herself out, but she didn't want to lose me. I promised to be patient, to stand by her, no matter what. Months later, we were still together, navigating the messy, beautiful reality of us. Harper came out to more people, each step a little easier, and I watched her grow into herself, fierce and fearless once more. We weren't perfect, there were fights, doubts, moments of fear, but we faced them together. One evening, we drove back to the lake, just the two of us. As we stood on the dock, the same place where she'd kissed me, Harper took my hand. "I'm still scared," she said, smiling. "But I'm not running anymore. I love you, Riley." "I love you too," I said, my voice steady now. The lake stretched out before us, calm and endless, a reminder of where we'd started and how far we'd come. Our love wasn't easy, but it was real, built on years of friendship and a courage neither of us knew we had. And as we stood there, hand in hand, I knew we'd keep fighting for us, for each other, for the life we were building together.